Hey there, welcome back guys. In this video we're going to be building a micro drone. That's right, you guys asked and now we're going to get it. Anyway, we're going to be building the Happymodel Mobula 8. So we're going to be building the first version with the chip from the Pavo Pico. We're going to take the chip, flash it, and then see how it works. And then we're going to take thankfully the folks at HappyModel send us the settings for the beta flight configuration so we could actually try another version with the original chip. But in this version we're going to have everything here. Remember, this is part 2. It might be a 4-part series. So without any further ado, let's get started. So you've seen the parts in the previous video, what we're going to be using. We have everything laid out over here accordingly. We have our previous drone, the Pavo Pico. We're just going to leave this, but we're going to take the O3 air unit from here later on and transpose it. This is our chip that we have right here. You need some flux, you need some wires. I kind of jerry-rigged this one over here. As you can see, I have some heat shrink there. I haven't applied the heat shrink yet, but I will. As you can see, the wires are tinned and put together because it wasn't long enough to reach the inside of the drone, which is what we'll work on next as we move forward. But as for here, as you can see, we soldered the connectors, one connector to the motors, and we have 3 more to go. And then we have to connect the wires, right, that go to the O3 air unit. So on the Pavo Pico version 1, if you remember my mentioning before, the wires have to be soldered. On the Pavo Pico version 2 chip, the wires don't have to be soldered, which is great because you just plug and play. All right, so we have our soldering iron. And then, we're just going to slowly build it in the 3 or 4 part series. But let's see how far we get in this one. So I've already applied flux to these connections on the board right here to help the solder sort of bind better. And I also applied flux onto the parts that here, but you want to apply the flux actually on the reverse side, because this is the part that you're going to be soldering. So when you apply the flux, when you apply the flux, you can just use anything, and then just just make sure that you get it in the areas that you're going to be soldering. You could what do they call it? Solder the wires, but I'm choosing to use the connectors just to make things a little bit easier. And should I down the line decide to want to reuse reuse the motors, right? So most likely the motor, since we don't have the cable that hasn't come yet, we ordered it from AliExpress, as you saw. We'll do that part in another video. We'll probably just do the motors and configuration, flash, and that's it. But as you can see here, we're just applying the flux to where it needs to be. I just want to make sure, this is pretty much, I just want to make sure it goes where it needs to go under the board, which would mean that it would go here. Okay, that's fine. It's doable that way. Just looking at the board here, trying to get the gist of it on where exactly these wires are going to go when it comes to the connector. So most likely we will do it like this on top, just to make it a little bit better. Put some in there because we want that flux to be where it needs to be. And you might have to apply a little bit more later because it might be too soon to put the flux on this particular part of the board since we're not really there yet. But you just want to apply and let dry. And then now we'll start the process of soldering to the board these wires. As you can see, just want to make sure we got everything correct. It's hard to see, so if you wear glasses, I've seen some people do their drone builds without glasses or anything, without even using these things. So it can be done, okay? There's our AC unit, so the water should be coming out soon. But in the meantime, while that does that, I'm just gonna, okay, got that out of the way. Just looking at the board, making sure. You could use a brush if you need to. Just remember to clean it after. And as you can, this brush has some flux caked on already, so that's not going to work. All right, so this one will definitely work. So you could just use that brush to just do like that, like I'm doing. And this part's a little bit tricky, but it's very doable. So I think I'm going to do the wires first. Now, as you can see here, I have actually taped the wires. I put some heat shrink here because I'm going to heat shrink it later once we know it works, right? Because we don't want to do. And you see how it's laid flat like that with tape, just so I can maintain continuity when putting everything back together on the board. So ideally, right, what you want to do is make sure the wires are long enough. If they're too long, I recommend snipping them. And this little trick we learned from FPV Unknown, because in one of our previous videos, our wires were a little bit too long. And so basically, this is great that we have not just subscribers on the channel, but folks actually giving us ideas and also guiding us through the process to help make things better and just right for you. So these will be nipped, and they're already tinned. I tinned them just to save time. We have other soldering video tutorials that you can watch if you want to learn how to tin. It's basically just tinning it so that it just works well and connects. So as you can see, we already used the flux, but we might be needing it again. Okay, so for here, I wish we could just plug and play with these wires. So first you want to get solder on the board. In this case, sometimes you may have to do that to the board so that it sticks to, so it holds in the right position. This soldering iron, I'll leave a link to this in the description. Sometimes you just have to wait for it to reach its temperature. And as you can see, it's still sleeping. Let's try and wake it up. See, we just woke it up by pressing a button, and it has to reach 600 and something, like 94, 95. So it's nowhere near what it needs to be, and that's when we will apply some solder to some of the connectors so that everything will just work. So you can, like, before it gets hot, and also tin your tip. Okay, I usually, if you've ever seen me live, I tin the tips beforehand, so that, or after my videos, and then this way they're always ready to go. So for those of you who are watching, hey, he didn't tin the tip, I did. See one of my live videos, and you'll see that they're always tin at the end of the show so that we're ready to go. Okay, so watch one of those soldering videos so that you don't blow out their flight controller. We've done that once, but never again. Thanks to the solution that FPV Unknown supplied to us, we have a smoke stopper, okay, to help us when connecting it, to check and make sure none of our connections are bridged. And even if you think you don't know, just always check the connections. You don't want to bridge anything and then blow out a board and it's like $90, $60, depending on what they charge you for shipping. So $6.90, that's about right. So now move this over here, do that there, clear the tip a little bit, and so we're just going to apply solder to the connectors, right? And remember, we applied flux, so that we could get the solder on the board, okay? Nice. And sometimes it's tricky, but doable. And this part's going to be easier because we're not putting a GPS unit on, so it's going to work out really well in that sense because we Bummer. That's okay. That's why we have this thing here, in case we bridge a connection. So this part is a little bit tricky, but doable. It's all right. See? Voila. We got it. Just to help us remove the solder on a bridged connection. But we'll be checking for continuity later. But even if we check for continuity, you want to make sure that it's not bridged. All right, so this part's tricky because I got to get it onto the 5 volt thingy. Actually, I might not need the 5 volt one because I'm going to connect the red to the battery. But you never know. You never know. Yeah, we'll leave it like that. All right, that's fine though. It's not bridged. But we'll, again, even if I say it's not, don't believe it until you see it, which means I have to go upstairs and get my meter soon. Okay, so now these wires are going to be soldered in the order. See how they're taped right here? Just look at that, how flat it is. I mean, if you have a better way to do it, that's fine. When we heat shrink, it doesn't matter what order they're in. But for now, while they're soldering, you want to keep them in the correct order because that's the order that they're going to go on the board. For example, yellow, white, yellow, black is ground, and red is the battery. But looking at it closely, looks like you might need a little bit more on the ground. Bummer. It's okay, it's doable. It just requires patience, steady finger, and probably a sharper, a finer point soldering head. This one is okay. It's fair. And you want to make sure that it holds. Like I said, fair. Bummer. You might need a little more flux. Or, you know what, if that happens, just clip the edge, because you don't really want that blob, you know? Nice. Sweet. So make sure it's not bridged, or even just too much, you know? Too much. Got it. Nice. Okay. So we're going to start with the sequence of wires. Again, even though you think you got it, you don't, because sometimes... Whoa. That was weird how the soldering iron just stuck in there. That was really weird. Yeah, sometimes when you think you got it, you don't, because you're not out of the ballpark just yet, because of the soldering. Smoke detector up there. You still have to solder. You still have to melt the solder again, unfortunately. And also make sure your sequence of wires is correct, as you can see. And also make sure sometimes this thing can become loose. Okay, so we have yellow, white, yellow. Okay. Now I don't think we need any more solder. You know, if all goes well. And this goes in that order. Okay, let's see what we have here. Yellow. Now we're going to do white. Yellow. Thanks. And then ground, which is G. So the black goes to G. G-man. And now we have ground. And then you could, I'm not sure about the 5-volt, but I just put it on battery. B, the red for bat, right? Because that's going to give the power. So put the B. And it's great because then it's not so close to the ground. But again, just going to make sure this is here. Nice. And we got it. Look at that. I'll show you guys. The only thing I don't like about this soldering, it's great, don't get me wrong, but there's no stand. Like I had to buy a makeshift stand that looks like this, which works, but you know, and just try to keep your area clear. Sometimes it's hard, but you know, the less stuff you have surrounded around your soldering iron, like plastics and stuff, the better. Things that can melt, right? Like your frame to the Mobula 8, things like that. Anything else is fine. Just need to clear up my workspace. Yeah, check it out. Kind of neat, huh? Yeah, I'll take a picture of this. I'll do it under the microscope so that you guys can see. Let me connect it to the computer. We're not out of the park just yet, unfortunately. So, you know, I'll throw a little clip in there so that you guys can see towards the end of the video, or maybe this part I'll cut it out and then just throw it in and then continue on. Because as you know, we're recording from the Osmos action camera, and when we use an action camera to record our stuff, we're working under the gun. So don't worry, I'll throw it in there so that you guys can see how it was soldered. Oh, nice. I love it. Really cool soldering job. All right, so now we're just going to move forward and solder the connectors to the motors. So we already did one, and we only have 3 more. They're a little bit tricky because I believe I used the other connectors for another board. So I have these which go straight up, which isn't so bad because if you look online at the Mobula 8, the motor connectors actually do go up instead of sideways, which isn't, you know, which is kind of cool. So we'll be able to maintain continuity in that particular sense with maintaining the motor experience similar to that they want you to have for this particular drone, you know. All right, so knowing that, moving forward, except they have to be soldered the other way, upside down. Remember, we're using clay, so just be sure to take off the remnants of anything. Should you, you know, just see like some clay in there. The clay comes off easily, and then you just might have to reapply the flux material. So remember, I put flux underneath. Any joint that you're going to be soldering, you want flux on, okay? This one is all right. It's a fair connector / connection. It fits on the board. It came with the board, so it's not like I'm using jerry-rig parts, but or third-party parts. But sometimes it just doesn't, you know, things don't work the way they're supposed to. So I'm just looking at how flush the experience is here to make sure things just go the way they are supposed to. What connector is that? Oh. Oh, okay, we're good. All right, so we got flux where we need, and if you need to apply more, apply more. You know, don't be shy, because the last thing you want is to keep applying heat to the board, because your soldering connection just is not, you know, doing what it's supposed to do. Just make sure you don't have any clay on, and you can take off the excess. So as you can see, I'm going to do this one. Nice, really went on there. And you could do that one too. You might have to apply more because as your hand's holding it, or if it's on the clay, you know, things just move, especially with the goo. All right, so now we're just gonna push these through the hole. See, nice. This part is a little bit tricky. Oh, nice. So now, again, the soldering iron may have fallen asleep. So if it does or did, just make sure it reaches the right temperature. See, 680 or 90 should be ideal for this one. And it also depends on your solder. I'll leave a link to the solder I'm using. So this is why I have my settings like that. Okay. And then now, this part is tricky because you want to get that right angle, you know, so that everything just goes and melts and blends. Nice. Got one. And remember, just when you think you got one, sometimes you don't. And sometimes, you use this thing, get the excess solder off, you know. Nice. That did that. That one's okay. I think it's going to need a little bit more. That's two. And the third one. Nice. Even though you think, oh, nice, I got it, you always have to double check because sometimes the connections can bridge. In this case, they didn't, which is great. Nice. And we still have to check for continuity. So we're not out of the ballpark just yet, you know? And I think it's a fair soldering connector connection. Nice. All right, so we got that one. Clean off the brush. It's really hard seeing this. And then, of course, put it back on its stand. Move anything, remember, that can melt out of the way. So now I got two more left after this one. Well, one more left after this. And so the other one would most likely go next to it. Now we can't put solder on it because, remember, we have to put this in first. Okay? Kind of neat. So then, see, that goes in. We got flux on there, which is great. Okay, so now we're just gonna put this like that. This one, a little bit tricky. Nice. Because they're so close. I wish that they made the space a little bit wider so that you could actually get in there, and do your motor thing. Got one. That one's taking a little bit too long. But I can move it around. But be careful when you move it that you don't accidentally take it out. That one's a good one. Oh, I see it. Okay, I couldn't see the other connection. Nice. Yeah, oh, that was hot. Got it. Sweet. And again, we won't know until we check for continuity, unfortunately. And that is the scary part. Not really scary, but the hardest part is the desoldering, you know? Getting the clay out is really easy. Let's see, which I will do. Now we got one more connector, and then what we'll do is we'll see if, make sure everything's okay. I wish I had a tissue. So yeah, that's one thing you want to have handy, or tissues, so you can clean the excess stuff off. Great. See, we got that. Oops, I'll just close the door. Alright, so now we're just going to clean off the excess clay. You know, that part can be a little bit tedious, but clay comes off easily. And no, we're not going to short anything out. You could use a pen, something like that, just to get off anything that shouldn't be there, you know, impeding the connection. Nice. See? It all just comes off. Nice. It's a little bit of a tedious process, but, you know, it works. It gets it all off. I could use one of the crampons, I believe it's called. The alligator clips where you just holds it together. You could use one of those things if you want. Thankfully, there's just one more left. Or, I wonder if I could... Oh yeah, that worked really well. Put this in there. And just pull it out. Let's see if the motors will fit in. Yeah, they fit. Nice. The only downside is that they you know, I'm going to need longer wires for them. But we'll make sure they work before we actually snip the wires. Let's see if we can do one more connection before testing that out. Alright, so we got one more, which is right here. And it goes onto the board like this. Okay. Make sure that flux is there and that you didn't, you know, accidentally remove it. If you did, that's okay. What you'll do is you'll just apply more. So you'll just take like a little brush thingy or a little tool. A little tricky, but then we just put it like that. See? So that the board will just absorb the solder and helps it melt better. Okay? So then now we've got the last one. This one, well, we got the last one. I think you might be able to do 2, right? And then the other ones, like this one, I don't think I'll need the clay because everything is flat. See, unlevel. Or you could do it like that too without the clay once you get 1 or 2 level in there. Make sure that the pressure is holding it down. And now we can solder it. Make sure your wires aren't. Okay. This is, see, you can, but it's tricky because stuff, see how it's moving? That's the only downside. So you gotta make sure that you got it in the right position. Because if you move it, it's just gonna make it harder. That's all. See? Just harder that way, which is why I use the clay. So, as you can see, now I just gotta get in the right position. And then once you're in the right position, you want to make sure it doesn't come up, because if it does, then you're shit out of luck too there. That didn't work. Just gotta let it. Didn't work either. And I got the flux on there, but this is why I got one. Need to get that bloop off. So yes, you have a blob on there, just take it off. But the flux is there, but oops. This one's a little bit trickier. Put some flux on the soldering board tip. That one's a little bit tricky. Sometimes the tip requires retinning. And then you can apply and let dry. Use this thing. Nice. We have to use, do we have one? No, we don't. Something's wrong with this. I have to bust out the other soldering iron. I think the other one's getting hot enough. Hopefully I have one. Yes, I do. A finer point. Because, as you can see, the one we're using isn't really doing justice. It's a bummer. Because that's also how you can blow out, like you can ruin the connectors and things like that. So we're going to take this off. This is for the press nuts. That's weird. Oh, it's a two-part. Actually, let's, yeah, gotta do that anyway. This comes off. This goes on. And hopefully this will fit. Yes. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't give away this one because, as you can see, we're using it. Alright, so I'm just going to turn it up. Turn it on. Okay, we had it set to its lowest temperature because we needed that for the press nuts. And hopefully this will actually let it melt the way it's supposed to. Why, I don't know. These tips are already tinned though, which is great. Should have done this before. Let it heat up to 700 and hopefully it'll just let us clean it up a bit. It's a bummer that, as you saw, this was working and then sort of like went to sleep on us. A little bit of a bummer, but that's why you always have to have a backup. You know, sometimes it's good, you know, for the job, and sometimes you'll be in the middle of a job and then all of a sudden, wait, it's not working. It's just stopped. It's a USB soldering iron, and when it works wonders. Now we're at the temperature that we want it to be. Make it a little bit hotter. Do 8. 8 should do the trick to allow us to get in there and, oh, got it. Yeah. So sometimes you just need a better soldering iron, you know, one that will do the trick and work wonders. Now we're just going to get the excess off. Got it. Bingo. Yeah. Alright. So if you do like I was doing, and you're just trying and trying and trying, and it's not working, just bring out the better soldering iron so you don't, like, ruin the board. Nice. And just by applying heat, it'll just work. So, you know, welcome back to everything that glitches, because, you know, I thought it was a good, it's still good, don't get me wrong, I'll still use it, but sometimes, you know, sometimes it won't do justice, but now you'll see me use it. Like, I'll just put it in one spot and it'll just melt. Maybe raise the temperature a little bit, and then it'll just do, it'll work its magic by just holding it. I'm just going to cut a piece off though. Nip it, snip it, one part. I don't like the glob. I like working like with an angle, working with it at a sharp angle, because it'll just melt. And it's a fine point. Sweet. Got it. And then I'm just going to get this one. Don't know why. Oh, it does that. Bingo. Sweet. Got it. Just need to make sure it's not bridged. Oh, this part is so tricky. And we're using a finer point soldering iron. Got it. Cleaned it up, but it's hard to get it in there because it's so, whoops, it's so small, like so tiny, so, you know, in there. It was easier doing the, 3-air unit. Literally. So much easier doing the old 3-air unit. Oh, and I feel the heat. Feel the heat. Feel the burn. Fortunately. Lower it a little bit. Bingo. I think we got it. Yep. One more. Yes. Love it. Nice. Alright, that'll do it. Now we just check for continuity. Turn off soldering iron because you don't want a hot iron laying around. That one goes to sleep automatically. So does this one, but connections are so small. but I believe we got it. Now we can just take that off. Look for any excess. Of course, we still have to solder the power connections, but that's easy, you know, sort of. I'm just gonna clean off the excess clay. You know, make sure nothing is touching. There's no continuity, and you can use a napkin to clean off the board. You know, if that works, or some rubbing alcohol, which we have. Bye. Should do the trick. So now we got to check for continuity. As you can see, we got everything here. One is the front, one is the back, but we just want to clean it up a little bit more, a little bit better. Okay, just removing that excess clay, and then we check for continuity. All right, knowing that, moving forward, I gotta get my meter. Okay, I got my meter. Some alcohol, just to clean up things a little bit, flush it out. So I'm gonna push this over here. And you can put a little bit of alcohol inside the cap, right? And we'll keep this away from everything so that you don't accidentally spill it. Just gonna use a Q-tip like that. Dip it in. Leave this here. And turn the light on. And just, you know, clean it up. Oh wow, nice. So that this will take everything on. Really nice. Yeah, just take everything off the wires. Wherever you might have flux from your hands, just clean the board. Oh wow, really nice. Wherever there could be excess clay, see, it comes off. Just like that. Use another Q-tip. Don't reuse the same one. See, just so that everything just comes nice. Oh wow, and clean. Sweet. Yep, we are. And then we just pray that nothing is bridged. Put this here. Thought I had it, like a pin. A second ago I did. Oh, right there. Just making sure that nothing is bridged. Nice, and I can tell this part isn't bridged because the soldering connection, the pin just slips right between the cracks, which is really cool to some extent. Voila. Alright, so now we gotta do the power connection. Okay, which is right here, plus and negative. So we can just put globs of solder on there, and then we'll just drop the positive and negative wire in there. Alright, that part's easy. And then we'll connect the power and see if the motor's actually working. Well, of course, make sure nothing's shorted out. Alright, so this one should wake up. This one should work once it wakes up. So I'll just plug it out. Maybe if I plug it out and plug it back in and let it reset, that might do some justice to the experience. And yeah, this part's pretty easy. Getting the connections to where they need to be. I think we're done with that for now. I think. I'm not sure. I think the temperature has to get to the correct temperature, but as you saw before, we had to revert to plan B because even though it said the right temperature and we did 3 smoothly, it just didn't work out. So just always have a plan B soldering iron with a finer tip, as you can tell. And this one, it could be almost time for a new tip, to be honest with you. I did tin it. We could tin it again, just for the sake of once it reaches 6, put this in here. That's the tricky part, getting it to do. I just don't want the smoke detector to go off. Yeah, you see that? It's at 6. Wow. And the solder still isn't melting. A little bit of a bummer. Okay, that usually means it's time for a new tip. And look, I'm putting it on the side and it's at 694. Okay. That usually means the tip could be shot, And thankfully, oh, look at that. Now it's melting. But, where was it when I needed it? Yeah, so that usually means the tip is almost on the fritz. It happens. Alright. Move this out of the way. Yeah, bummer. Alright. We had its moment. Moment in glory. Yeah, it's tinned. Wow. Alright. Let's see if we can get the rest of the job out of this stuff. Okay, there's flux. We have the plus and the negative. Hopefully we can melt some solder in here. And the trick is to get the solder to its hole. Create like a blob. So that sweet. I think that's big enough to some extent. And it's a matter of getting the wires at the same length. But remember, before we heat shrink everything, I want to make sure that this actually works. So the drive has been flashed. Move that away. All right. See here? We have that, and then we have another one here. Another heat shrink. We're just going to heat shrink these two. And make sure it's the right length. Yeah, for sure it's the right length. Just push it through. You want to push it so it's in the middle. Once it's in the middle, that knot, like that middle part, then you shrink it together. And you want to make sure that nothing is coming out from the other side, because that's where the wires are gonna, melt when you use this thing. Hold on, I'll show you guys. This was one of my first soldering irons, but it just gets too hot, and then so I use it more. It's more of a heat shrinking experience. See, it has a little stand, but this is like a blowtorch, if you ask me. So then what you do is you turn it on like this, but it heat shrinks really well. And then this thing works like a, when it works, turn it on all the way. See? And then you just wait for it to go. Takes a while. Like again, it does have some butane in it. Oh, it's full actually. Wow, not just some. So then what you do is when it gets hot enough, as you can see, you can turn it down. It doesn't have to be that hot. And the heat that rises will cause the plastic to melt. See that? And shrink, sort of like heat shrink it. That's one. See? Remember, I'll show you all this towards the end under the microscope. And there's two. And you feel it. It's so hot that I'm like, this is definitely not a soldering iron. But it worked at the time. And that's it. Then you shut it off, right? And you keep it far away from anywhere you might accidentally walk. And in this case, I'm putting it under the shelf thingy. And then now, see, voila, and there it is. Voila. Could use a little bit more. Could be a little bit tighter on this side. Yeah, maybe. You don't want to have any gaps. No gaps. So then we take this and the lighter. Oh, wow. It's so hot that I don't even need to just jump start it again. So it looks like I need some right under there. no gaps. This one melted really well. The other side. Yep, there we go. Yeah, that'll have to do. Alright, so we got that. Now, where is the Mobula? Ah, so now that we got that working, see that? Now we can get rid of the solder. Since we got that. And then now, what we can do is, we can probably figure out how long this has to be, but what we want to do is put these little connector thingies that come with the chip so that we could put it on its frame, these little rubber grommet type things. It comes with 4, and that helps you to put it on the board, if that makes any sense. So you can, so it can go in between the gaps. So here's 1. There's 2, and I have 2 more. And there's 3, and 3, and 4. Thankfully, the board that comes with the Mobula 8, everything just connects right in, which is awesome. So we could just make another one of these connectors, but instead of with soldering connections, it'll just be with regular connections. Oh man, that's fine. It'll still work. See, and then this goes in there. See that? That's 1. And then we have 2. And then we have 3. Where's the third one? Over here in front of the antenna. This is the antenna. 3. And last one is 4, which goes next to the power. Maybe I'll leave the 4th one for last because we have to. I have to connect the wires to it. See, wires. Other than that, let's try and see. So that's that. Actually, yeah, let's solder the wires because I want to check the power and make sure nothing's bridging. But to make sure nothing's bridging, first we'll check for continuity. So first we do continuity, and then we'll connect the smoke stopper to it. Okay. Continuity just means that we want to make sure that nothing is connected accidentally from solder bleeding over to another connector. And so far I think it's okay, but you just never know. If it is, we fix it, you know. Black goes in the middle, and then red goes over here, and then we turn it on. Red powers it on. They're better meters than this, but I've had this for years, since before my kids were born, so if there's a better one out there, get that. But I think they still sell this one too. See, that's continuity. That would mean that we bridged the connection. So you see, it just means like, but hopefully we didn't, you know, but what's happened before. So what you do is you'll put a wire on one, and then just touch everything next to it. And if it beeps, then we're screwed, like duck. See? Connection. So we got here. Nope. 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 Awesome. Nice. Nope. See? I'm just touching everything to make sure. Nice. Nope. Nothing's bridged on the 03 air unit connector. Now we have to check this here. So what you do is you put one on the motor connector, Okay, that's a connection, but that's fine. And then we do it on each one. We touch them to make sure that there's no beep. Nope, no beep. Awesome. And now we're going to do the same thing with the other ones. So that's, well, that'll be one. Then we just work our way around. So the first one, there's no connection. I was just touching it by making a solid connection. Nope, nope, nope. Nice. And that would be a connection. But I'm just testing it. So there we go. And then I do the same thing for the other two. And then you just pray that there's no bridge. So this is a connection. See, but now I'm going to touch every other one and make sure that it doesn't do that. The last one, fingers crossed, this is the one we had trouble with, where we actually had to get solder out of places where it didn't belong. Nope. That's a full connection. Touch next to it, nothing. Awesome. This one is fine. I just hope there's enough solder on it so that it actually works, to be honest with you. Other than that, I'm not worried about this one. And we'll know when we connect it. Alright, so now I'm just going to shut this off. And leave that there. And now I'm going to solder the wires. Make sure the wire's at the right length though. So where's the frame? This is the Mobula frame. See, and I want these wires to go, okay, so the antenna's the front, and the back, of course, is where the powers are. See this? These little rubber things make it much tighter and a much more fluid fit. But I want to make sure that there is enough wire. That's the tricky part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed these in right about there. I got the black. And the red. Now I'm just going to pull them out. Oh no. Device overheated. Wait, what did it say? Screen. Oh, screen will disable. Okay, that's the only downside to that part of having an action camera to do what we're doing. You're working under the gun. It's fine. Nice. Okay, so then we just find the right length. But in order to find the right length, we're going to plug the battery in. Of course, there's no connection, and the wires will never touch, which is fine. So we connect it in like that. That's a good length. And of course, this one, the ground sort of got pulled out. Okay. And then we pull them in like this. Nice. Find the right length. Oh, nice. Okay. And then we just leave that like that. And then we make sure that this is like this. Make sure there's enough room, right, for the cables to do what they need to do. Yeah, I think that'll be enough. And then I think the right length will be, it's hit or miss with these length thingies, but I'm going to say right about here. Like that. To leave enough room for it to work its magic. And remember, we have to fit the 03 air unit in there too. So that's why we gotta leave buffer. So we could hide that in there. Right underneath, do like a left and a right for positive and negative. And then push them in. And then just do that. Snip them. So you can never have too much, because you could always go back. And then we'll just do that. And then that. And then, of course, plug them out. Okay, now that, you know, got them where they need to be. Okay. All right, so now we feed the wires back through, because remember, we're going to have to solder it while it's in here. So if that makes any sense, you got to be really careful. Use this rubber grommet. I'm going to feed this in. This part's going to be really tricky. Maybe not. I think we got it. I think we can do it. You got this. All right. It's going to be finagle. Going back in. Actually, let's do that. And then do the same thing to the red one. And then what we'll do is we'll tin it. Hopefully this one will let us tin. If not, that's okay. We'll use the other one. Do a hard reset. Working with a soldering iron. Keep this away in case you accidentally drop it and blow up the battery. So we'll just twirl these around. Twirl that around. And now we'll just move this out of the way. Looks tin, but you know, it's looks like it might be time for a new tip. Now we're just going to grab some solder that we put away. And then hopefully the camera doesn't overheat on us. It's at 4 something. We need 600. Could use the other one, right? I want to see if this one still has its magic. Still doing its thing. We need 680, 690 around there. A little bit of a bummer. It's alright, still have another tip. Let's see if this will let us tin. Nice. To some extent. I might need the clay for this one. Move this over here. Put the wire on the clay. Like, we're not in it, but just like this, see? So it like holds it. See, like that. And then you can just rub against it. And then just tin it. Wow, that's a nice one. And then the other one. Nice, that one came out really good too. Yep, they're both tinned. So now they should fit into their corresponding parts. So now if we go back to the board, we can't go back to the board just yet, but I think, I don't know what that was. Given the luck we've been having with this soldering iron, I think I'm just going to turn on the other one. I'm going to plug this one out. You know, it was fun while it lasted. I think I may have to change the tip, and I don't want to mess up the board, especially if we're working on the board itself, right? While it's attached to the drone. So I don't want to, you know, I want to maintain continuity with the heat. Okay. So knowing that, moving forward, I think I can definitely put this in, since we're going to be using the more stable soldering iron. Push that in like that. Remember, this is the front where the antenna is. Turn this one on. It's already set because we have the temperature from what it was before that started melting stuff. This can come off. And then what we'll do is we will find that's the front. Remember, the back is where the battery is, okay? And now I'm just going to do this. And the battery you can always switch around if it's not correct. Because it will always, see, look at that. Kind of neat, huh? And then we just push this in, push this in. Looks like we're going to need longer wires for the motors though, which is a little bit of a bummer, but that's easy to heat shrink. All right, so then now, as you can see, wow, it's a tight fit. So we can bring it up a little bit. Bring it up a little bit. I think we got this though. This one we won't need the clay for. And that's why we're going to use the finer tip. All right, so we're going to push these in. Remember, we tinned them, all right? So they won't fray as we push them through this thing right here underneath. Because the last thing you want is for them to fray while you're trying to solder them, and you don't want to try and solder frayed wires. So it's hard to slip them under that hole. And voila. Remember, red is red, black is black. Okay, soldering iron is ready. It's flashing. So we'll do black first. There's no rhyme or reason which one you do first, but I want to work at this particular angle. Now, could use a little more heat. It's not melting. Tricky angle. Got one. Nice. Now I can get the red. Bingo. Got it. I think we're going to do the black again. Just want it to be in there. Yep, that's not coming out. All right. See, now we got that. Now we're just going to check for continuity. Make sure it works. Maybe connect the O3 air unit. Now, before you check for power, what you want to do is connect the smoke stopper, because this will prevent things from going kaput. And if you're wondering what that means, watch this clip right here. See what I mean? Too much power ran through it. It could also mean that there was a bridge connection, but I think that one was because, not a bridge connection, but I was connecting a 3S to this chip. I don't think this one can do 1S or 2S. No 3S in this one. If you do 3, that will happen. Or if you bridge the connections, like if there's continuity between two soldering joints, that will do that too. Okay, so we checked that part, but you never know. We just never know. All right, so knowing that, moving forward. So what happens is the power goes in here. See that? With blue. And then there's some directions there. See, green is off, power on, green. Red is normal or short. Blue is 2 amp current. And then we have like yellow. Yellow means it's ready to work. See, it's ready. And then blinking, high sensitivity. So now we just plug it in and see, and then we, actually, you know what? Let's connect the motors, because then we'll really know. And so, unfortunately, they're too short, but we can still connect them and let them hang. We don't have the props on, which is pretty good. So then what we'll do is we'll just do that. Let's connect one. See, just too short. So we're in part 3, we're gonna make the motors longer, and put this baby together. In part 4, I guess we'll fly it. You know, we'll see if the configuration works. I'll show you guys how to flash it. All right, knowing that. And moving forward, we should be almost good to go. And one more motor. And then we'll just let the motors hang like that. Of course, the O3 air unit isn't connected, so a little bit of a bummer, but just make sure all your motors are like that, hanging like that. And then what we do is we connect the smoke stopper, get the solder out of the way because that could melt if things blow up. What else could melt? This plastic bag, this metal container. It won't melt, but just trying to get things free and clear. All right, so now we'll just connect it. And let's see. We should hear like, right? Hopefully. Okay, it's still good. No short, which is good, right? You like that, right? Well, let's try changing the blue is good. Nice. So there's no short. Love it. See? Try that. Look, we let the power in and no shortage. Voila. If it did short, this thing would just be like work like a fuse. Pretty cool. Nice. Except I don't hear any beeping. Probably because the O3 air unit isn't connected to it yet. So next what we'll do is, now that we know that we were able to, you know, everything's working and things like that. Oh, it is. Oh my God, the motors are moving. I hear the beep. That's so cool. I guess only these two do the beep. Yeah, only these two. I feel that one moving too. Oh wow. I feel that one moving too. I feel all the motors moving. It's like making this beep, 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 but it's so low. I wonder what. Oh, probably because we have to turn up the volume maybe. That part I forgot how to do. But we could probably connect it to the computer and see. And now that we want to, if we do connect it to the computer, you want to make sure that it's not all the way down in there. We should have a connector right here. Sometimes through a hub, you don't have the best of luck. What's connected here? I can disconnect this and just make it a direct connection to the computer. Let's see. I'm just gonna connect this and just make it louder, that's all. I gotta raise it up. I don't know if you can hear it. It's beeping. And actually, we don't have a lot of time because if the O3 air unit gets too hot, not O3, oh yeah, the O3 air unit's not in here. When the O3 air unit gets too hot, you can't see any. It just turns off. But I'm just gonna do this part in 1 second, and I'll share with you in a second. I just want to turn the sound up. 1 second. Where is ports, configuration, presets, PID tuning, receiver, model. Huh, interesting. Motors, OSD. OSD is not working. Arming is disabled, which is good. Oh, probably OSD is not working because it's not connected. And modes won't work. Let's see if ports will let us. Maybe do a refresh. And connect. Yeah, now it's working. Okay, config. Because it's an online configurator. PID tuning, I believe, and receiver. Okay, modes. Bummer. Yeah. All right, so let's try ports. I'm going to connect the O3 air unit and then try, because it's not letting me do everything all the way. But there's a beacon tone. Let's see. Let's do 5. Save and reboot. Let it reboot. Disconnect. See, you can hear it now. A little bit hot. It's a little bit louder, not a lot, but a little bit. And then let me try that one more time. Receiver modes. It glitches out, I guess, because it's the web-based interface. Let's see, presets, battery, configuration. Yeah, so the beacon tone is set loud, but unfortunately, it's just not, loud enough. But let's disconnect this, and now we know there's no short. See, it was still green and good to go. Gotta love it. All right, and so now I'm gonna connect the O3 air unit to it. Maybe while I take the other drone apart, I'm gonna charge this one for a little bit. Okay, and you would know it's shorted when this thing turns red. Thank you, FPV Unknown, for saving us a flight controller. All right, I think I have his email. I can't remember. If I did, I'd want to send them something, but he chooses to remain unknown. But FPV, if you're watching this and you made it this far, we have not forgotten about you. Send me an email, and we will send you something via email this way, because you can still remain anonymous and unknown if you just get a link to something. All right, so knowing that, moving forward, this is working. Now I got to take this apart. Let's see, which one is this? Yeah, so now this I need my goggles for, my special eyewear. Nice. And then we'll just do this. Do this. Unscrew all the parts. Oops. Part's a little bit tricky, but totally doable. All these screws are the same, and so they pretty much go to the O3 air unit. So you can't go wrong with them. If you because the Mobula comes with its own screw kit for its frame, but we're not going to screw the frame in just yet because we want to make sure that the O3 air unit actually works in here. See, then we just plug it out. Well, it is plugged out, so we just take off the soldering iron, put this on the side, make sure you have all your 4 screws. There are 3 there, which means 1 might still be attached in here. 2, yep, 1 is in there. You want to make sure you have all of your screws before you start this process or do anything, because you'll go crazy looking for them later, and they're hard to find. All right, so we're done with that. Now we should be able to plug in the O3 air unit into its new home. Remember, we still have to heat shrink this, but not yet. All right, so now just make sure that which side is upside down, right side up, upside down. So just want this to be flat. All right. And then now, if we plug in a battery, it should work. I mean, it should just turn on. All right, so where is the battery? Just had it here a second ago. Ah, there it is. All right. I think just to keep things safe, let's do what we were taught. Connect this, and then connect the battery. And if it shorts out, then we know something's wrong. Yellow means it's ready. Blue, and it should turn on. Nice. Oh, it's probably the motors because they're smaller too. Look, and let's see if the O3 air unit. Yep, O3 air unit's there. Let's see if it turns on though. I want to see if it goes into my goggles. Let me see. So I'm going to plug out the battery. power's still running through. Shut that off. Just plug it out. Keep it safe. Okay. Let me get my goggles. And then that'll be it for this video. And in the next video, we'll work on the motors. Okay. So we'll just do it with the, not yet though. Oh, nice. Where did it bind to? Oh, the remotes. I was like, wait, what just happened? All right. I'm just going to change it to the air unit. Change it to O3 air. Oh, now I should connect the power. So that's when you want to connect the battery. When it's looking for the O3 air unit here. This way you just save some battery. See? I go here. Believe it just turned on. See? And there's that. Look for that pin. Because you're going to have to bind it. I believe this one may have bound. I'm not sure. But if I can just see the whole... Oh, my glasses. I'll just bind it again. See how it's flashing? So what we'll do is we'll just do this until it flashes. Like it should start flashing. And then bind to it. Whoa! That's why they make the tether. Okay, so now we can just run full power through it. So now we know that there's no short. There isn't a short. So now the only short we'll have is not having enough power in the batteries. See? Now it's not flashing, but it needs to bind to here. See, it's red, which is fine. Oh, it bound. Oh my god. Let me see if I can see anything. I gotta be careful with these things. I'd rather have the battery die than drop these. Okay. It works! Holy shit. Oh my god. Wow. I don't know if you can see, but... Oh, you won't be able to see. But it's there. We did it. Holy shit. Let me check it out. Well, it's hard to see, but you'll see in the next... Oh my god. It's so cool. You know what? I'll record the screen so you can see my 2 fingers. Me counting. Let's see. Except... Oh, I see. I was like... Hold on a second. I was like, except but sideways. Okay, and what I'm talking about is, look. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, but it's sideways because the air unit is there. Now that's straight. And now you see me. We did it! We did it! We actually invented something that worked. Pretty cool. We're gonna have a Tinywhoop soon. Alright, Tinywhoop soon. Oh, let me do this. Hold on a second. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so that concludes part 2. We can't continue with this because I don't have the wires for the motors. As you can see, the motors are just too short, which is fine. But what I have to do is make them longer. So I have to cut the wires. And now I can heat shrink this. I'll continue with that so you guys can see. Take the blue tape off because we know our wires are the way they used to be. There'll be a link to everything in the description should any of you want to attempt this. Just remember one of the glitches we ran into, if you know that pencil soldering iron is great, it just glitched out and stopped keeping things at the temperature that it needed to be. The only downside to that, you know, one, thankfully I knew what I was doing, and two, it was a good flight controller board, because if the flight controller board was not of higher quality, you can mess up the board by applying too much heat, which happened to actually this experiment here, which I had to jerry-rig one of these things because applying too much heat, basically we lost the connections. I know it's around here somewhere, but you've probably seen that video where I did that. And so again, have a really high quality soldering iron on standby, or just, you know your stuff, know your gear, and be ready to improvise, and, you know, have plan B ready, because again, $80 is really expensive, or even $60, whatever these flight controllers cost. It's just not, you know, worth it. If, you know, if that makes any sense. And have one of these things handy, because this will prevent this from happening. Knowing that and moving forward, that's it. I'm going to clean up the mess, and, you know, part 3, can't wait for part 3. Then part 4, I'm going to show you how to flash everything, because as you can see, I already flashed it and it's working. But I'll just, you know, redo it if we turn it back to stock. The only trouble we'll have is probably the connection here. Once it's connected, it's a little bit of a bummer. You're not going to be able to get back in there to reconfigure things unless, that's why on the Mobula 8 they have the connection for the USB-C on the top. That's okay, we'll make it work, you know. We'll make sure everything is the way it's supposed to be before we close it off. All right, again, hope this video helped you. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them down below, or ideas for other videos. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.